Hey guys, welcome back to Yugi Pools. Today we've got a deck profile and build for the Prank Kids deck. This deck, when it first came out in December 2018, got first place in YCS Milan, and it also got top 16 YCS Chicago, with other notable first place or top 8s for regionals here and there as well. One of the cool benefits of this deck is that not many people play it or have seen it at their locals. So when you do take this to your locals or regional, people aren't going to know what combos to stop, and it's really going to throw them off, and that'll auto get you some wins there by itself. But this deck was built by my good friend Edgar Gonzalez. He's well known in the Atlanta YGO scene. But this is going to be our deck building 101 for the Prank Kids. We're going to show you some 3-card combos, and as well as just the main engine of the deck, the cards you want to have, the cards you don't want to have. But after that, let's go ahead and get into this.
Hey guys, just a little side note here before we get into it. This is currently a 44 card deck. I wanted to find space for a couple of hand traps because you don't always go first, so you have a little bit of trouble breaking boards. You definitely don't want to go up against a Zexal and lose. The deck can kind of play on your opponent's turn, however you have to open up the right cards and usually use monster effects to get to those cards. So I decided to add in a few hand traps. This deck currently is 43 cards. I need to pick up a third invocation. I did buy one from a friend. I haven't picked it up from him yet, but for the sake of this profile, I will be showing you 2 invocations. Anywho.
So would you say for this deck build that this normally, does it have its own natural draws, or is it's a natural search and summon from deck?
A lot of it is special summoning from main deck, so people don't really know which card to hit with Ash. There are a few cards where you add from deck to hand. There's cards where you add from grave to hand, so there's a lot of versatility with it. I wouldn't say it's adding cards from deck to hand too much, but Joel Unlock can hurt if you open up the right hand.
Cool.
But anywho, let's get into it. As for the ratios, you play 3 of each of the Prank Kids. Unfortunately, there's only 4 main deck Prank Kid monsters. If there were more, I would play more if they all had these same effects. Konami, please give me a Cyber Dragon-esque Prank Kid so that I can combo off. But yeah, it's 3 of each of them. You just need as many as possible to keep putting bodies on board. Every level is important. Well,
so each 3 is, so we got what, Lampsies for the fire, we got Roxy's for the earth, and we got
right, so we have
Fansies for the wind.
Fansies, level 1 wind. People use this to make the wind barrier statue with some Morg using the Lyrilusk link or rank 1. I tried that build. It's bricky, it's okay. You get to main deck 1 DD Curl that you search for free, but it's not really that great. The Dropsies, level 2 Water Aqua, very good for making Toad. I think Toad is kind of mandatory in this deck because it's so easy to make. Lampsies, level 3 Fire Pyro. It's not really used for its level 3 or its Pyro. It's just a body to link off with. And level 4 Roxy's. That one does get used as a level 4 for rank 4s because cards like Abyss Dweller are just so powerful.
Cool. And that's all the main deck Prank Kids monsters.
Yes.
Cool.
And then, like I mentioned earlier, there is Invoked in here. So we do have 1 Alistair. You don't really use your normal summon half the time, so may as well just save it for a card like Alistair. You search it with the Magical Meltdown or you open it. It doesn't really matter. It's not an important card. It's just a card to help you get Invocation so that you can fusion summon your Prank Kids from the hand. 2 King the Swamps. This one's a little different. I kind of go back and forth with ratios. Sometimes I play 1. Right now I'm playing 2. That's because of the inclusion of the next card. But it just helps you become one of the materials for one of the Prank Kids fusions that requires specifically Lampsies, Fansies, and Dropsies. So this can become the name of any one of those to help you fusion summon it. Or you can discard it to add polymerization because you always need more ways to get more Prank Kids fused from your hand or field. And then because everyone seems to be playing it these days. The Dark Magician and Red Eyes Black Dragon.
Dragoon.
So there was a guy at my locals actually gave me this Red Eyes when I was asking, hey, anybody got a Red Eyes for trade? He just kind of handed me one. Shout out to that guy. I actually didn't catch his name.
Oh, man. He saved the day.
Yeah, really nice guy. I appreciate that. But yeah, with King of the Swamp, you can become either one of these for the Red Eyes Dragoon. So I've actually, in playtesting, I've actually had to hard make Dragoon a couple times, and it saved me. So
yeah.
King
and
of the
just
Swamp.
for the viewers in the future, I don't know what's going to happen to Dragoon on the ban list, anything like that, but this is included in almost every other deck that can end on two effect monsters. So you make your Protoplant Verite Anaconda, and then you're going to make Dragoon, which is just a hell of a boy to have, but we'll keep going.
For hand traps, I got 2 Ash Blossom and 2 Ghost Ogre. I at one point kind of maxed out on Ash. It's not super relevant. It's good. It's just not that impactful half the time. Ghost Ogre is okay. It's just I don't want to lose to Zexal, so I have an out like that.
So if Zexal wasn't a thing, do you think you'd just do triple Ash?
If Zexal wasn't a thing, I might play DD Crow over this just because the graveyard's so impactful. I feel like DD Crow does more than Ash in some cases, and it's not a hard once per turn.
Cool.
Onto the spells. Like I said, I would be playing 3 Invocation.
Look at those ultimates.
Picked up the 3rd one from a friend. It's been a couple weeks since I talked to him, though, so I haven't gotten it from him yet, but it is on the way. It is one of those cards that I definitely recommend playing 3 of. However, in this specific build, you don't need 3 of it. You can get away with just 2. In addition to Invocation, I play 2 Polymerization. Like I said, I've been playtesting this deck. I've only had 2 Poly, 2 Invocation. You see them enough because there's plenty of ways to search them. However, if I knew I couldn't get a 3rd Invocation, I would play a 3rd Polymerization. 3 Called by the Grave. Your deck has a lot of summoning. You don't want the opponent to drop a powerful hand trap like a key Ash Blossom when your hand's kind of bricky.
Yeah. So this is a turn 1 build, and you definitely want to run the 3 Called by the Graves.
Definitely. You're trying to go first, and you're trying to end on stuff. So 3 Called by the Grave is definitely powerful at stopping an Ash Blossom that might be timed well.
Yeah,
or
they're going to have the hand traps.
Especially when people side in Droll and Lock against me, and I happen to have one of those hands with a lot of searches. Yeah, that hurts. So
yeah.
I definitely don't want that to go through. 3 Prank Kids Place.
Standard.
Pretty good field spell. It's a search for any of your Prank Kid monsters whenever you play it. It helps you get the right fusion materials that you might need. It might help you get something that you can throw away later, say for Roxy's effect, or it can also help you by controlling the board, as it has the ability to either weaken your opponent's monsters when you link summon or strengthen your own monsters when you fusion summon. So it's a useful field spell.
Would you say that field spell, as well as the number of main deck Prank Kids that you run, that's like standard for this deck, for any deck Prank Kid deck build?
Yes, I do. Okay. I don't think you can get away with running less than 3 of any of the main deck monsters or place.
Okay.
Unless they release more Prank Kids monsters, but we only have the Link one to look forward to. Pranks is a continuous spell. It is a mini Pot of Greed that during the end phase shuffles 3 back in to draw a card.
You don't want to have 3?
I tested it with 3. It was okay. It was just kind of bricky because it's one of those cards where you want to search it if you need it, or you want to draw into it. So definitely it's kind of a 2 of. It's okay if you open it, but you don't really want to open it. You want to see it later, and if it's in the graveyard, then you can shuffle it back in and draw a card. So Pranks is a pretty good card that it doesn't specify monsters have to be shuffled into the deck.
Cool.
It's just any 3 Prank Kids cards. So, and in addition to that, it helps you extend your fields because it can allow you to discard any Prank Kid card to special summon a token. Then we're playing a couple of other field spells. So we have Magical Meltdown, Search the Alistair, pretty standard. And Fusion Recycling Plant. This one's a little different. This is a card that allows you to discard any card to add polymerization to your hand, and then during the end phase, it allows you to add one monster that was used as a fusion material from your graveyard to your hand.
So at this point, if no one knows what prank kids do, they do a lot of fusion summoning, especially with Alistair in there and you going into your evokes.
It's more so hit or miss. It's more so links, but yeah, it does do a lot of fusion summoning.
Oh, okay. Well, so in case someone doesn't know, you do a lot of fusion summoning. It revolves around links, but you've got the fusion summoning.
Yeah, you got a couple of XCs, some mostly links, and a few fusions, but definitely the invoked allows you to do more.
Okay.
So Fusion Recycling Plant is pretty good, as it allows you to search for polymerization by discarding any card in your hand. Sometimes you can just throw away the hand traps because they don't really help you combo off on the first turn, and get your polymerization. And then during the end phase, it allows you to add any of your monsters that were used for a fusion summon back to your hand. So this has some versatility with adding back any of the prank kids for your quick play fusion on your opponent's turn, so that you can continue to snowball on their turn. And then since we're playing so many field spells, set rotation. I was also playing Terraforming. I recently cut it. I didn't feel the need to search for any one of these cards. It's not important to search for Meltdown or Recycling Plant, and it also wasn't important to search for Place because I can search this with Cockadoodle-Doo. So I just decided to cut the Terraforming altogether. The set rotation just kind of helps you control boards and deck thin a little bit, so it had more place in this deck, as it also allows for deck thinning too. And then other one-ofs, we have Instant Fusion. This is, when this was at 3, this was the reason why this deck was able to top. It's at 1 right now, so you just kind of luck sack it these days. But it helps you recover. Either if you open one Prank Kid and this, you can normal summon your Prank Kid and then make the fusion and link off into Cockadoodle-Doo and start snowballing. Or you can recover from something like a Nibiru. After they wipe out your field, you summon Rocket Ride and then continue to go from there. And then we have Pandemonium, the quick play fusion. This one is a 1-of. I've tested it at 3, 2, and now it's at 1. You really only need 1. You're just trying to Foolish Burial dump it with Fansies and then add it to your hand with Cockadoodle-Doo. You don't really want it for the most part. You just need it to gain advantage on your opponent's turn. And then lastly, we have Red Eyes Fusion. Verite Anaconda into Dragoon is
you need it for your Dragoon.
It's too strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, why wouldn't you play it? So.
And as everyone knows, you don't want to open Red Eyes Fusion. Like, that's the worst thing you could open.
Lastly, we have 2 impermanents. I want to be able to stop Zexal, I want to be able to stop Abyss Dweller, and I want to be able to stop a few other cards you can't do Dragoon. But there's quite a number of cards that you want to negate when your opponent ends. And so just having a couple of outs like Imperm is just really handy. And then lastly, we have 2 Prank Kids Plan. Being allowed to fusion summon or link summon on your opponent's turn is very powerful. You can link summon into the Harpy's Feather Duster card. You can link summon into Bow Wow. You can eventually you'll be able to link summon into Link 1. It's just a very strong card. Plus, it has a graveyard effect. If your opponent attacks, then you can basically recycle all your resources. By banishing this card, you shuffle all your Prank Kids in your graveyard back into the deck and weaken your opponent's monster's attack. So it just helps you get all your stuff back if you happen to start to run out of resources.
Yeah, nice. I guess we'll move on to the extra deck now. All right, so I know you guys are having a good time watching this video, but just remember, around September 25th, we're doing a box giveaway for Rage of Raw. So make sure to subscribe and like that video specifically as well, because in order for me to give the box away, I need at least 100 subscribers and 100 likes on that video, plus some comments. So I'll go into more detail about how to get the box for that video, like in that video, but for now, just go ahead and subscribe and watch for that video to come out in September. Thanks. So for the extra deck, you want to play 1 Needleworm.
Sir, this is Petite Moth. Get it right.
Oh.
Can't you read the kanji?
Oh man, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh culture is gonna cancel me.
Canceled. Okay. And in addition to Petite Moth, you want to make sure you play your Morphin. As for the extra deck, we have plenty of fusions, a couple of XCs, and all of these links. So let's start with the links, the most important stuff in the deck. We have Cock-a-Doodle-Doo, play 2 of it. Very often you'll find yourself making one of them and sometimes being forced to link it off in order to continue your plays, and then later you're able to make the second one and use its effect to add cards from your grave to your hand. So it is useful to have 2. Sometimes you end up linking one of them off and then not shuffling it back into the extra deck with pranks, and so you need a second one on the follow-up turn so that you're able to continue to play. 1 Bow Wow. Bow Wow has a quick effect on your opponent's turn. It allows you to target any 2 prank kids in your graveyard and add them to your hand. It also makes it so that your monsters can't be destroyed by card effects for the rest of the turn, I believe. But this one's kind of useful. It also powers up any prank kid it points to by 1,000 attack, and that's won me a few games here and there. And then the Link 4, this is the Harpy's Feather Duster. If your opponent removes it by a card effect, you get to pick any 1 card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Other Link 4s are Borreload. I feel like this card's too powerful not to play it. It's untargetable by monster effects. It non-targeting removes a monster, and it can weaken an opponent's monster's attack. So being able to steal problem cards with Borreload is very important. And Appaloosa, you're trying to go first with this deck, so your end board typically will have an Appaloosa with 3 negates on it. So you definitely want to play an Appaloosa. And then lastly for links, 1 Predaplant Verte Anaconda. The end board for this deck used to be Abyss Dweller, Toad, and Appaloosa. Nowadays it is Abyss Dweller or Toad, and Appaloosa and Verte Anaconda with Dragoon. For the Xyz, play 1 Totally Awesome and 1 Abyss Dweller. Like I said earlier, the Roxys are level 4s, so you can just make Dweller by putting 2 Roxys on board. And the Dropsies are both Water Aqua, so you can put Toad on board using both of those. As for the fusions, we play 1 Rocket Ride. I used to play 2. I ran out of extra deck space. I would suggest playing 2 if you felt like any of these cards was unnecessary. Come the new main set, we should be getting the Prank Kid Link 1. So we'll be making space for at least 1 of it. I would suggest playing 2, however, extra deck space is very tight, so I'm definitely only going to be fitting 1 for the time being. But yeah, Rocket Ride's the most important fusion. It allows you to special summon 2 from the graveyard on your own turn, so you bring back your Cock-a-Doodle-Doo after you've added cards to your hand, and a level 1 monster, and now you have 2 monsters which count as 3 material towards your Appaloosa.
Also important to note, if you're in time and you just need to get a little bit extra damage, he can attack directly. So that's a very big thing. Don't forget about that. Don't sleep on him.
Yep. God knows I've done it a couple times. Then you have Weather Washer. This one allows you to special summon any 2 Prank Kids from your graveyard on your opponent's turn, and they can't be destroyed by battle that turn. So again, another good way of snowballing advantage, and it's a great fusion to make on your opponent's turn. And speaking of great fusions for your opponent's turn, we have the boss monster, Battle Butler. This monster is a quick effect Regeki. So similar to the Link 4, that one's a Harpy's Feather Duster, this one's Regeki. And we all know how powerful it is to be able to wipe away all your opponent's resources on their turn. If it leaves the field by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon any 1 monster in your graveyard. And with the Link 1, this card tributes itself as cost normally. However, the Link 1 can substitute any tribute on the field of a Prank Kid by banishing itself from the graveyard. As for the final fusions, we've already established Dragoon gets played in here.
Gotta have it.
Too powerful not to. Untargetable, indestructible with a negate and double Ring of Destruction effect. Why?
That guy's going to be in almost every deck until he's banned.
Either that or Verte Anaconda. Or
Verte is going to be the one that they hit.
Probably.
It's not going to be Dragoon. It's going to be Verte.
Yeah. They made their money off of those tins already.
Yeah.
And then invoked, we have a Mechaba. You can banish an Ogre, Veiler, one of your opponent's light monsters like Dogmaticas to make it. You can also use the King of the Swamp. You can banish those from the graveyard as Alistair the Invoker instead of using Alistair, which is a fun fact. And finally, we have Purgatrio. It's just useful for clearing boards. So otherwise, that card might be the one I end up cutting for the Link 1 for the Prank Kids deck. Alright guys, so here's just kind of a little tutorial on how to play a hand like this. Basically, your ideal opening hands will be having 2 Prank Kids in hand and one way of conducting a fusion summon. So in this hand, we have 2 different named Prank Kids. You can still kind of do this with one named Prank Kid, but it makes it a lot harder. So we're going to do King of the Swamp. We're going to add Polymerization, and then we're going to use our Polymerization to fuse Dropsies and Lampsies, and then we'll summon Rocket Ride. And now each Lampsies and Dropsies will activate, and they will each special summon a Prank Kids from the main deck. So we'll summon Fansies and Roxies. Now, with these on board, we can continue to snowball. So we'll link these 2 off, and we will make Cockadoodle-Doo. And so now, on a new chain, we'll use the effects of Fansies, Roxies, and Cockadoodle-Doo. So Cockadoodle-Doo will add Pranks to hand. With Fansies, we will send Pandemonium to the graveyard, and then special summon a Roxies. And then with Roxies, we will banish a card in our hand, draw a card, and then special summon a Dropsies. This way, now you have access to a second copy of Roxies, so you have 2 level 4s, and a second copy of Dropsies, so you have 2 Water Aquas. So from here, use Doodle-Doo, tribute it, to add Pandemonium, and it doesn't matter what it is, but I like to grab Fansies because it gives you the most versatility for putting stuff in the graveyard later on. And then you use Rocket Ride, tribute itself, bring back Doodle-Doo, and any 1 Prank Kid. It doesn't matter. So if you want Toad, you put Dropsies on board here. If you want Abyss Dweller, you put Roxies on board here. For the sake of this video, I'm going to end on Abyss Dweller, as I feel like it's a more powerful card for shutting out the opponent. If you know you're facing a deck that doesn't utilize the graveyard very much, then in that case, I would suggest you make Toad. So we'll go ahead, overlay, Abyss Dweller. You still have a normal summon, so you can use your normal summon on something like Fansies, or here you can use your invocation to put another monster on board. So you will banish your King of the Swamp, treating it as Alistair the Invoker, and Lampsies. And now you can make your Mechaba, or sorry, your Purgatrio. Then you link these off, and you make your Appaloosa. Alternatively, you could have normal summoned your Fansies and made your Appaloosa with 3 materials here, assuming you didn't have something like Invocation. But for the sake of this video, we're going to pretend we had the Invocation in hand, or one way of getting to Alistair. And then, finally, if this was at post Phantom Rage, when we have the Link 1 for Prank Kids, what we would do is we would use Prank Kids Pranks to create a token by discarding Pandemonium. So now we have a level 1 token. Then you could normal summon Fansies, and then you turn your level 1 token into your Link 1, and then you link off your Link 1 with Fansies to make your Predaplant Verte Anaconda, and then send your Red Eyes Fusion to the graveyard, sending your Red Eyes and Dark Magician to make your Dragoon. So post Phantom Rage, you'll have an end board of 3 Negate Appaloosa, Abyss Dweller, and Dragoon, plus a blank card in your hand, which in this case happened to be called by the grave.
Nice. That is a strong board.
Alternatively, instead of Abyss Dweller, you can just link off your 2 monsters to make Verite Anaconda and end on Red Eyes Dark Dragoon if you wanted to. I would suggest saving that play for the next turn, as this is a good going second card for breaking your opponent's board and making Toad instead.
Nice. Cool. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys.
I'd like to shout out Heroic Gaming and Red Lion Gaming over in Woodstock, here in the Atlanta area. If you guys are somewhere near Roswell Road, just be sure to drop by on Friday nights, as that's when we tend to get together for our 7:30 tournaments.
Cool.